Fortnite just made an announcement that's upset a lot of people. So many players are not going to be able to compete in tournaments now, but why I think it might actually be a good thing going forward. We also had our first official tournament. We now have Mr. Savage as the highest earning player in all of Chapter 6, a very dominant start to some big names. We saw other big names doing well like Peterbot, but we unfortunately saw some really big names like Click struggling to even make finals. I also want to talk about what's going on with Simple Edit, why it's not in competitive, and why I think potentially Epic doesn't want it in competitive because it's too good. There's a lot to talk about. Let's jump into it. Are you trying to improve at Fortnite, but you just don't know where to begin? You're watching YouTube guys, you're practicing your mechanics, but you just don't know what's going wrong. Well, that's where the sponsor of today's video, Blitz, comes in. All you have to do is download the Blitz app and run it on the background of your PC. It'll break down all of your stats like damage done, damage taken, headshot ratio, and it'll even do this per weapon, so you can figure out which weapons you need to improve on. Not only that, it'll then compare it to other players of different ranks or even the pros, so you really know what you need to work on. It also has a bunch of useful tools like finding the best drop spot. We have a whole bunch of new updates coming out, and when the map changes, you might not know where's the best new drop. There might be a new chest, a new location. That's where Blitz comes in. You can check where all of this loot is and try to figure out the best loot path. Maybe you're a little bit further down the line in progression. You're playing in tournaments and you're worrying about Storm Surge. Blitz can even keep track of how much damage you and your teammate have done, so you can keep track of how you're looking on Storm Surge. You can even see your teammates' loadouts if you need to figure out how many meds they're carrying, or you're a little bit panicked in endgame and you need to know if they have a med kit. Blitz will also work on a whole bunch of your other favorite games like Deadlock, Apex Legends, and Valorant. Download the Blitz desktop app for PC, try it out using my link in the description down below. Let's kick off with the announcement from Epic that's upset a lot of players. So if you haven't been paying attention, if you want to compete in prize money tournaments now, you have to have played at least 14 different tournaments in the last 180 days. This is to try to get rid of all the cheaters who are just buying new accounts after they get banned, rage hacking in tournaments, getting banned, and buying a new account and doing it again. Now you have much higher restrictions to be able to play in tournaments. Fortnite has taken this even further. Previously, they said on Twitter that if you played a tournament on multiple regions, this would count. So most players were just planning on playing one game of the Ranked Cup on EU, one game of Ranked Cup on NA, Brazil, Asia, etc. And then you would get 14 events in a couple days. They have now come out and said that playing multiple tournaments of the same tournament on different regions will not count. You can only play the tournament on one region to count towards your 14, which means even with the 4 or 5 rank cups we have every single week and the OG cups, it's going to take you 2.5 weeks of playing all those tournaments before you can start playing for prize money. And why this has upset a lot of people is it means you're going to miss the FNCS trial, which is the biggest tournament to get your division to then be able to play for money. The solo cups, the solo cash cups each week, you only need gold rank to play in them, but you need these 14 events. However, divisional cups, if you want to play for money, you need Division 1, which if you miss the FNCS trial, you're now going to go from Division 3 to Division 2 to Division 1. So if you haven't played any tournaments in the last 6 months, you basically are starting from the lowest division and you can't even play those tournaments until you play 14 tournaments. Then you can play to get to Division 2 to Division 1. And I understand why that's so frustrating to people, especially a lot of NA West players who quit because their ping was so high, but now they're getting their region back, they want to compete. This is frustrating, I understand it, but I think it is the right decision from Epic Games overall. Like everything, I really wish Epic had made this decision earlier or communicated things earlier, and it would have dodged a lot of this hassle, but to try to keep the game alive right now and try to get rid of this massive cheater issue, it's just a necessary evil. And also, I understand the frustration of players who haven't been playing, but Fortnite is obviously going to cater competitive and rules to the players that have been playing the game. If you haven't played in the last 180 days, it's kind of hard for Epic to cater to you when you haven't been playing the game. They obviously want to cater to their player base that has actually been competing and keeping the game alive. So it's an unfortunate situation. I wanted to try to explain it for those of you guys who don't know. If you really want to play tournaments, your best bet right now is if you have a PlayStation, make sure you play the PlayStation Cup. Make sure you play every ranked cup. You only have to play one game. As long as you compete in the tournament, that is all you need. You don't have to place. A lot of people are saying you need to get top 10,000. That is not true. Top 10,000 only puts you on the Fortnite tracker events leaderboard. That has nothing to do with Fortnite's in-game leaderboard. As long as you play one tournament in each separate ranked cup, that will count. So good luck getting your tournaments up. Hopefully, once you now get into playing Cash Cup tournaments, you'll enjoy it way more because there's not cheaters running around ruining everything. If you haven't been playing tournaments for the last 6 months, you probably don't realize just how bad it got with the cheaters. If you did, I feel like you definitely understand more why Fortnite has to do this. But But again, this is another, in my opinion, good change from Epic in the long run. This is going to be so good for Fortnite competitive in the long run, and in 2 weeks time, once everyone's played their tournaments, no one's even going to remember or talk about this. It really is phenomenal for the future of Fortnite. Look at it this way. If a cheater now gets banned from playing a tournament, they won't be able to play for money because the opens and finals are a day apart. So they play opens, they get caught cheating, they get banned. They now can't play the finals of that tournament. The teammates they played with get a 28-day ban as well. They now need to try to find a new account that's level 350 that's played 14 events in the last 180 days. Then they need to try to not get banned again. If they do, then they're gone. You see how much better this system's gonna be than the old system where people just played on an account, cheated, made finals, hopefully got banned before finals because it started 2 hours later, played finals, then got banned, and then just went and bought a new account and did it again, all over again. These extra requirements, as much as they are unfortunate for the average player, they are necessary right now. Something that Fortnite did mess up on, I believe, I hope they messed up on, was turning fire on in competitive. We now have fire being re-enabled in competitive, which is a little bit scary when we have the fire only mask in the game. I think this is a mistake because last time fire was in the game, it massively tanked server performance. It put so much pressure on the server to render the fire and all the builds breaking and everything that does in a stacked competitive game. So I'm guessing this is a mistake. Now, another thing that also looks like it might be a mistake that a lot of you will be happy about are the new simple edits. Now, the new simple edits, I thought they were going to be terrible. They're actually looking pretty insane. There are players getting extremely good on them. I have a video on my React channel showing off how insane they are, but they aren't on in competitive right now. And I thought that makes sense. You know, Fortnite knows that they've stated in the blog post, it's a way for, you know, bad players to get better so they can enjoy the game more, but it's not meant to be a mechanic that's used by really good players to make them even better. That's not the point of them. So it made sense to leave them out of competitive. So it's really just something you can use in pubs or maybe rank to be a little bit better, but you're not going to see people getting full piece with simple edits in grand finals. But after talking to Assyrian, the people over at Assyrian who can run all the game files, they said it actually looks like it's potentially a bug and it is meant to be in competitive. I'm not sure how I feel about this because simple edits by definition from Epic themselves lowers the skill ceiling of the game. It makes it easier for players who haven't put as much time into the game to get far better, to then get better than players who have spent a bunch of time. I still do ultimately think the best of the best, like Peterbot Bolt level mechanics, even without simple edits, will always be the best. There's too many letdowns with simple edits to get that good. However, simple edits can make your edits really, really good, really, really quickly, especially if you're on controller. Because one of the biggest drawbacks of simple edits is the lack of scroll wheel reset or how much slower it is, but on controller you don't have that anyway. There's still a few downsides of like all of the edits are really wide open edits, so quite often you will take a lot of damage back. You can't do certain edits like right window edits to be able to get safe right hands. You can't peek through cones. There's a few different things that you can't do with simple edits, but for how quickly you can pick them up and get really good at them, honestly, I was playing around them for like 15 minutes and already I was starting to feel crazy. They are really, really solid. So I don't know what Epic's going to do with this. Maybe they do want to keep them out of competitive and Assyrian has interpreted it wrong, or maybe Epic's going to do something about it. I feel like if they wanted them in competitive, they probably would have fixed it by now and turned them on. I think they themselves are trying to evaluate and figure out whether simple edits are a good idea at all, because some people are saying they should just remove it from the game entirely, and all the people who are spending all this time practicing it are just going to be wasting their time. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Now, we had our first official in-game Fortnite tournament, and we had some big names showing up very big from the start. We had Mr. Savage, Mongrel, and Panzer not only qualify in style, they easily qualified, winning their last game. They went on to win the first game of the finals, meaning Mongrel, Savage, and now Panzer are the first official earners of all of Chapter 6. We are going into Chapter 6, and not only Mr. Savage, but Mongrel are still very relevant competitive names. This was super exciting to see. After a pretty disappointing OG season, didn't go too well. Mongrel and Savage are playing alongside Twy. I don't really want to say this is Twy's fault. I feel like all three of them, or at least Mongrel and Savage, weren't really grinding as hard as they normally would. Since Chapter 6 has started, Mongrel has been locked in. Savage is looking phenomenal alongside Panzer, who you maybe haven't heard about. He's a Russian player. He's extremely good. He actually did the most amount of damage in EU Opens of any player in the tournament, and they went on to win the first game of finals. Unfortunately, they didn't have the same success in the next few games. They're currently getting contested at the Bird. They won 3 times on spawn while being contested, and then game 4, the team contested them ended up leaving, but their biggest issue wasn't actually the team dropping on them, it was Chicho's team. Chicho, Chap, and Teeny were dropping in the PY next to him at the forest. They pretty much would instantly key down, usually taking out either Mongrel or Savage or one of them. They'd have to spend their whole game in Storm trying to reboot, get back in the game. It was a bit of a nightmare, but the one game they instantly won on spawn, didn't get W keyed, they went on to win. And a bit of a spoiler alert for NA, Mr. Savage even went on to earn on NA as well, like 8 hours later. Mr. Savage is now officially the highest earning of any player in the world in Chapter 6. To round out EU, we had Pablo, Wingo, Kiro, and Bevies, Philip Monk, Firen, and Masiak, is it? And Ricky, Belusi, and Darky winning the other games. There were some big names missing. We had Tripper and Thomas HD and Fredoxy get a 6th, 3rd, 9th, and 2nd, playing phenomenally well, not getting a single win, but playing very, very consistently. We had Chap, Chicho, and Teeny, who I talked about, King, Savage every game. They got a 4th place, but there are other games they were going down a little bit earlier, especially after getting such good surge on Savage's team. We had iDrop, Trulex, and Tayson, who unfortunately didn't have the same consistency in finals. They got an 8th, 9th, and 4th, but they opened up the opens with 3 wins in a row. So for those of you guys who are Tayson fans who've missed seeing him do well, he is very much back. And I know it's just opens, but you got to remember, Eval Cup is only open to the best players who qualified in FNCS. This isn't just a regular opens, it's already full of good top players from the start of the tournament. So it was really, really good. We did see the Deal, Queasy, and Pixie, a brand new trio, struggle a little bit as well. I'm sad to see Queasy struggling so much after doing so well, winning the first trio Cash Cup, but I do think that trio has a lot of potential. Queasy also qualified for NA as well, so he is fully locked in and grinding multiple regions, but couldn't find the success on EU. We're also missing some big names from EU finals. Vico's team didn't make it, Mustache didn't make it, Rezon didn't make it. This meta is really fun. I'm really enjoying it, but these assault rifles are absolute lasers. It's really, really hard to find consistency every single game when you're getting absolutely destroyed. Some teams are doing it, some teams not so much yet. So unfortunately, some of the big names on EU didn't make finals, but I'm sure when they do, we'll get to see how finals shakes up with them as well. Moving on over to NA, I did spoil a little bit with the Art Skill, Mr. Savage, and Axe Force win, which is one of the weirdest trios I've ever seen. We're super happy to see them close out game 4. They also got a 4th place and 8th place in the finals as well. So it's like they just fluked one game from triple EU ping. They were doing really, really well at 6 a.m. for a lot of them. The other 3 wins went to none other than Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot, to be expected. Peterbot's team actually having a bit of a thorn in their side from another EU team. We actually had Veno, Pink, and Nebs, the British boys, landing kind of on them. They're landing on the mountain next to Brutal Box Cars, which was kind of, you know, it was messing up Peterbot's loot pathing a little bit. They did come out game 1 with a 14 kill win to bring it home, so it didn't mess them up too much. They also got a 6th and a 4th on the day before getting a 25th. Their 25th game was them just going fully aggressive for high ground. That just didn't, sorry, they went down in mid game. Their other games, they went fully aggressive for high ground. Another team challenged them. It got a little bit messy. High ground right now is very, very messy with these Void Oni masks. It is pretty much just like Shockwave season, teams flying up, taking it, fighting over it. A lot of times the games are actually being won by the teams on low and mid ground who can just stay out of the chaos and then late take it. We had Rapid, Poyo, and Bolts. Whenever we talk about Peterbot's team, we're always talking about Rapid, Poyo, and Bolts. They managed to win the 3rd game, but they also got a 2nd, 5th, and 6th. So their match history right now, probably the most consistent trio in the world, doing very, very well in this new meta. Batman, Booga, Mason, Yomzo, in my opinion, the most underrated trio in the world, winning so many opens, tournaments, qualifying for everything, doing really well in finals, and still a lot of people aren't talking about them. 4 Elim 7th, 5 Elim win, 5 Elim 9th, 5 Elim 3rd. Really, really consistent. And then we had some big names not get a win, but do really well. Reet, Booga, and Threats getting 2 5th places. We had Aviv, Skittles, and Chimp doing really well in the OG season at the end of last chapter, also getting 2 4th place as well. Aegis, Acorn, and Kanata not finding the success we would have hoped for. They didn't get a single top 10 in the finals, but did really well in opens, still looked solid, just couldn't pull it together in the finals. You'll probably notice we are missing some big names here like Clicks, Rise played alongside Epic Whale because Muzz is currently traveling back to NA. They didn't do really well, but again, Epic Whale is about to start competing on NA West. He was just filling in for a bit of fun. Once we get to see Clicks, Rise, and Muzz, the actual trio, competing together, then we can start to judge and see how things are looking. But it was an unfortunate performance for Clicks, who's struggling to get a bit of momentum going right now.